Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Steel Rain 2 Summit, a Korean political thriller comedy from 2020 that stars Woo Sung-jung and Kwak. Now, I did review the first Steel Rain movie on this channel a few years ago, which featured the same two actors. Good movie, I recommend it. However, the ending of the last film was pretty definitive, so I was wondering how they would do a sequel to it. The answer is this. They got the same actors back, at least the big two, but in different roles, so they're playing different characters. So, okay, it makes sense. Jung plays the South Korean president, and Kwak plays a North Korean Supreme Guard command chief. So here's a plot synopsis for you. Despite the end of the Cold War in 1991, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Korean peninsula missed a chance to build a peace regime. It remains the last Cold War system in the world. Leaders from South Korea, North Korea, and the United States hold a summit in North Korea to discuss the issue of nuclear weapons and peace on the Korean peninsula. Interrupted by some North Korean hardliners who have raised a coup, the leaders of the three countries are kidnapped, transported to a submarine, and now they must try to escape. Simple premise, for sure, and this film does follow a typical three-act structure. But the easiest way for me to review this movie is to first talk about that second act. Okay, now, there are a few slight spoilers in this review, not like how I usually do. There are a few slight spoilers here, but I cannot review the film without talking about some of these issues here. Now, our three protagonists who get kidnapped. Remember, you have the South Korean president, the North Korean dictator, and the South Korean president is played by Woo Sung-jung, North Korean dictator, played by Yeon-seok, and the President of the United States of America, played by Angus McFadden. Now, the American president in Steel Rain 2 is named President Smoot, but he is obviously playing Donald Trump in this film. Alright? And I will say this, Angus McFadden is surprisingly entertaining as Donald Trump. He is. I mean, film fans will recognize this actor from movies such as Braveheart and Equilibrium. Those are the two that I kind of recognized him for back in the day. And he's nicely cast here. I think he does a good job. He plays it unprofessional enough to be convincing as our current president. But, like, for example, at the first summit meeting, he's very entertaining and quite a bit outlandish, but he plays it right. I was laughing pretty hard, and I had assumed that it was a cameo role. I'm like, oh, they got this guy in to play, our current president as like a joke. Oh, no, he's one of the main characters in this film, and he is, unfortunately, a huge double-edged sword for Steel Rain 2. Like, I'm not even over-exaggerating. Like, this is going to make or break the film for you, this character. He's the most memorable part of the film, an entertaining part of the film, but he's also the film's greatest weakness. So listen to this. In terms of the positives, his interactions with the South Korean president and North Korean dictator are so unexpectedly raw in their humor that I could not believe what I was seeing when I was watching this film. I have never seen three national leaders have this kind of interaction in a movie before, especially an Asian film. And, these guys are the actual leaders of the United States, South Korea, and North Korea. And the stuff they say to each other, wow. It's quite shocking, but entertaining. I'm still in shock at this. And I kind of liked it. It was kind of ballsy. Unfortunately, they use him so much in this movie, and he gets so much screen time, they really needed to add another dimension to his character. They should have made him more multi-dimensional, because by around the midpoint of the film, he's just like a cartoon. It makes his one-note shtick too repetitive. And for a while, slight spoiler coming up, but for a while, I was really excited during the middle section of the film. I'm just like, man, if in the third act they have this guy kicking butt in their escape attempt, it would have been glorious. I mean, that would have been a fantastic, like, oh, we're making fun of this guy, and then turn it on its head and have him just, like, beating the crap out of a bunch of security guards, and this, with him, I mean, think about it, you have the American president, the South Korean president, and the dictator of North Korea attempting to escape a submarine working together. So, I mean, this is an opportunity where you could really step up your game in this third act and make it just, like, one of the most entertaining films of the year. And they don't do it. They don't do it. They just had entertainment gold in their hands, but they just opted to make McFadden's character just kind of useless the whole film. And you're just like, it was disappointing, because I was thinking of all these cool things I could have done with him, and they just didn't. So that, it's, man, that was the most disappointing part of the film for me. But, he is the most memorable character in the film, but he's also the greatest weakness, because the filmmakers failed to take the character to, like, that next level. They just kind of, they took all the low-hanging fruit. And obviously that character will prove to be politically divisive for potential viewers. So if you're insulted by seeing him depicted as a moron and a jerk, but also kind of likable at the same time, he is kind of likable in how they do it, because it's played for comedy, But if you're going to be upset about that, do not watch this film. I'm very moderate and, like, laid back in terms of, like, real life politics, so it didn't, like, bother me too much. But that's me. You may have a different reaction. So yeah, I could potentially end my review right here, because what I discussed is the most important aspect of the film. Let's talk about a few other things. The first Steel Rain film had a lot of specific geopolitical issues that were front and center in real life. This film also does that, especially during the opening half hour, and it adds a Japanese angle involving extremists from that country who have a beef with the United States, which I found interesting. And it's actually a pretty interesting setup. But then, during that middle section, the movie's just mostly concerned with comedy and kind of outlandish stuff, instead of kind of really digging into the political ideas that were there. So I think that's kind of a flaw. One impressive aspect of the original Steel Rain was the action, which was intense and gritty, with a high-octane feel. That aspect does not carry over into Steel Rain 2. I mean, they have a lengthy finale. It's more like a suspense thriller sequence than an actual action scene. It was a little disappointing. Like I said at the start of the video, it's more of a political thriller comedy hybrid. It kind of takes itself seriously sometimes, but not all the time. And that's fine. It's commendable to, I guess, make a different movie for a sequel, instead of just regurgitating the same stuff as the first film. And I think they did a good job overall of kind of infusing a variety of interesting themes and ideas and elements into this. But they should have kind of focused and developed them a little bit better, I think. I do need to make it clear that I do think this film could have been pretty special, because of the oddball mix of stuff they have in here. But, it just turned out okay. But despite its flaws, I did moderately enjoy Steel Rain 2. I prefer its predecessor, which is, like, played it straight serious action flick. But it's, it's pretty good, I think. It's pretty good. This movie is available on Amazon streaming in the United States. It's kind of a big-time risk for anyone to watch it, just because I could see some people enjoying it and some people just freaking hating it, just due to its divisiveness politically. At the very least, I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to forget this one. So, hey, it has that going for it. So, yeah. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.